I've lost count of how many patients I've seen cry not from pain, but from frustration. After the stroke is over, after the IVs and monitors are gone, they're left staring at their own hands or legs, willing them to move, and nothing happens. Recovery after a stroke is not a straight line. It's a jagged climb, full of tiny victories and sudden setbacks. But one thing I tell every patient and family: movement is medicine. The human brain is remarkable. Even after damage, it has the ability to rewire itself to build new pathways, to learn again. But it won't do that on its own. It needs your help. I remember a man named Peter. He was 61 when he had his stroke. A mild one, but it left his left side weak. He told me, "I can feel my arm. I just can't make it listen." His frustration was palpable, but he was determined. And day by day, inch by inch, he made progress not by waiting, but by working. In this episode, I want to share with you the 3 exercises I prescribe more than any others in early stroke recovery. Simple, powerful, and proven. Because the path back starts with a single, intentional movement. The human brain is more adaptable than we once believed. For centuries, we thought that once a part of the brain was damaged, that function was lost forever. But we now know that the brain can change. This concept is called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means that even after injury, the brain can reorganize itself. When a stroke damages one area, other areas, if stimulated, can learn to take over those lost functions. But here's the key. It only happens if you engage the system. In other words, the brain rewires through use. If a limb isn't used, the brain will assume it's no longer needed and slowly forgets how to use it. That's why early rehabilitation is so important. The first few weeks after a stroke are a critical window. During this time, the brain is more responsive to retraining. The sooner we begin targeted exercises, the better the chances of recovery, not just in mobility, but also in speech, coordination, and cognitive function. I often explain it to patients this way. Imagine your brain as a map of roads. A stroke causes a major highway to collapse. But if we move quickly, the brain can start building side streets and bridges around the damage. The longer we wait, the more overgrown those paths become, and the harder they are to rebuild. Rehabilitation exercises are not just physical movements. They are conversations between your body and your brain. Each repetition is like knocking on the brain's door, saying, "Remember this? Let's try again." Of course, progress depends on the severity and location of the stroke. But even in cases with significant damage, I've seen patients improve far beyond what was expected simply because they committed to movement. In the next section, I'll walk you through 3 foundational exercises I recommend in nearly every recovery plan. These aren't fancy or complicated, but they work. They're the building blocks of strength, coordination, and most importantly, independence. Peter's first week of rehab was the hardest. He'd been an auto mechanic for over 30 years. He was used to working with his hands, used to solving problems with muscle memory. But now, his left hand just dangled. He couldn't grip a fork, couldn't button a shirt. "I don't feel like myself anymore," he said to me during one of our sessions. "It's like part of me stayed in that hospital room." We started small: finger taps, shoulder rolls, assisted lifts. I explained every movement, not just how to do it, but why it mattered. "When you tap your fingers," I told him, "you're reminding your brain, this hand still belongs to me." There was one afternoon, I remember it clearly, when he managed to bring a plastic cup to his lips without spilling. He froze, cup trembling in his hand. Then he laughed. It was the first time I'd heard him laugh since his stroke. "Did you see that?" he said. "I did that." Moments like that are breakthroughs. They're not just physical, they're emotional, even spiritual. They reconnect patients with the idea that recovery is possible, that their bodies are still theirs to command. Peter's journey wasn't easy. There were bad days, setbacks, and tears. But that day, with the plastic cup, was a turning point. From that moment on, he believed he was capable of coming back. That belief, more than any medicine I can prescribe, is what moves people forward. Now let's talk about the 3 exercises I use most in this early phase zones I taught Peter, and now share with patients everywhere. Let's start with the first exercise I recommend to almost every stroke survivor. 1. Finger taps and wrist rolls. This may seem simple, but don't underestimate it. Finger taps help re-establish fine motor control and strengthen the neural pathways that connect the brain to the hand. I usually tell patients to start with the thumb and index finger, tapping them together slowly 5 seconds apart, then faster. Progress to touching all 5 fingers sequentially. Wrist rolls are just what they sound. Light, gentle, circular motions of the wrist in both directions. Even if you need assistance from your other hand, do it. These exercises don't just rebuild function, they rebuild confidence. They're quiet victories, and those matter. 2. Seated marches. This exercise builds coordination, balance, and core strength, all essential for walking again. Sit at the edge of a chair, feet flat on the ground, back straight. Then lift one knee toward the chest and lower it slowly. Alternate sides. Start with 5 on each leg, twice a day, and increase as tolerated. Even if only one leg responds at first, keep trying. This is about retraining the brain, and every attempt is a signal sent to reconnect the path. One of my patients once said, "I feel ridiculous doing this." I told him, "You're not here to look graceful. You're here to get your life back." 3. Shoulder blade squeezes. Post-stroke. Many patients develop a forward-leaning posture due to weakness and imbalance. Shoulder blade squeezes help correct that and encourage better alignment. Sit or stand with arms relaxed by your sides. Slowly squeeze the shoulder blades together. Hold for 5 seconds, then release. Do this 10 times, twice a day. It helps re-engage the upper back muscles and stabilize posture, a key step toward regaining both confidence and mobility. These exercises aren't flashy. You won't see them trending on social media. But I've watched them change lives quietly, patiently, steadily. And remember, it's not about perfection. It's about consistency. Your brain is listening every time you move. In the next section, I'll share the most common mistakes I see people make when trying to recover and how to avoid them. Even with the best intentions, many stroke survivors fall into traps that can slow or even reverse their progress. I've seen it in hospitals, in rehab centers, and even at home visits. And it's rarely about laziness, it's usually about fear, frustration, or misinformation. The first mistake? Doing too much too soon. After a stroke, people are often eager to prove they're okay. They try to walk too far, lift too much, or push past the pain. But stroke recovery is not a sprint, it's a series of steady, mindful steps. Overexertion can lead to injury, fatigue, or discouragement. I tell my patients, challenge yourself, yes, but don't punish yourself. The second, not doing anything at all. I've met patients who, after being discharged, sit in a chair for hours a day, afraid to move. They worry about falling or failing. But the longer the body stays still, the more the brain forgets how to command it. Even small movements matter. Even assisted movements. The goal isn't perfection, it's participation. A third mistake I see is focusing only on one part of the body. Yes, your arm or leg might be weak, but recovery requires a whole body approach. core strength, balance, posture, even breathing, all of it contributes to your ability to regain independence. Neglecting one piece of the puzzle slows the entire process. And finally, going it alone. Recovery can feel isolating, but it doesn't have to be. Physical therapists, occupational therapists, speech pathologists, they're not optional. They are your allies. So are support groups. So is your family. Let them in. The road to recovery isn't just about exercises, it's about mindset. And the right mindset starts with avoiding these common missteps. In the next section, I'll share what happens when patients push through these barriers and how hope turns into progress. One of the most rewarding parts of my job is witnessing transformation, not dramatic Hollywood-style comebacks, but the quiet, powerful kind. The kind that happens when someone who once struggled to lift a spoon finally feeds themselves. Or when a person who couldn't speak beyond a whisper says, "I love you," to their spouse for the first time in months. Peter was one of those transformations. After weeks of rehab, his hand, once curled and unresponsive, could now hold a fork. He wasn't fast, but he was steady. His leg was strong enough to help him stand. With assistance, he took his first few steps across the therapy room. We all held our breath. He didn't fall. The smile on his face said everything. Recovery is rarely linear. There are setbacks. There are days filled with doubt. But those are not the end. Every inch gained matters. Every word regained matters. Every small win becomes the foundation for the next. I've seen patients walk again after being told they wouldn't. I've seen people return to hobbies, to work, to life. Not because they were lucky, but because they worked consistently, intentionally, and with support. And when doubt creeps in, and it will, I remind them, healing doesn't always mean going back to who you were. Sometimes it means discovering who you still are. If you're listening to this and wondering whether recovery is really possible after a stroke, let me tell you what I tell every family I meet. Yes, but only if you move, only if you begin, only if you believe that effort, no matter how small, still matters. I've watched people rebuild their lives from a place of stillness and silence. I've watched hands tremble, then strengthen. I've watched words return, step by slow step. None of it came overnight, but all of it came because someone made a choice to keep trying. If you're a caregiver, your presence makes a difference. Your encouragement, your patience, your reminders, they're not small things. They're the bridge your loved one walks across as they find their way back. And if you're the one recovering, remember this: there is no timeline but your own. There is no race to win. What matters is that you show up for yourself every day. Even if all you can do today is lift your hand or speak a single word, that is enough. So here's what you can do today. Choose one of the 3 exercises and try it. Just once, then again tomorrow. Write down one goal for this week. It can be as simple as stand for 10 seconds. Ask for help from a therapist, a doctor, a family member, or even a support group online. Recovery is hard, but it shouldn't be lonely. Your brain is listening. Your body is listening. And with time, patience, and action, they will respond. Healing isn't about returning to your old life. It's about reclaiming the strength to build a new one.